Hey, this is Moa Smokes, and today we're going to be talking about the Provost 2 from Apple on Top. I already did an Apple on Top Provost 2 video previously. Since I've made that video, I've gotten a bunch of DMs with questions that I had never really thought to answer in a video, and also I realized I didn't talk about how you can tilt the cap at all. So I wanted to do a second video just to make sure that all the information was in one place so you didn't have to jump back and forth between the first video and then this video and etc. What you're seeing in front of me right now are 6 different bowls. Now, starting from my right to left, we have a Mason Onyx, we have an Alpaca B2 Kilo Bowl, we have a Mason Gravyl, we have an Alpaca Symphony, an Alpaca Mini Rook, and then finally an Alpaca Bambino V2. The reason that all these bowls are in front of me is because I wanted to show how the Provost actually sits perfectly on any of these bowls. So the reason I'm showing this is because a bunch of the questions I've gotten are, what kind of bowls work with the Provost 2? The cool thing about the Provost is since it sits on top of foil, it pretty much sits on top of any kind of bowl. Like you don't have to go get a special kind of bowl to fit the Provost 2 like you would with a Lotus or a Stratus, because people tend to look for lipped bowls with those types of heat management devices, whereas here, again, it's just sitting on foil, so it doesn't really matter. Like I said, I'm gonna do a full walkthrough of how to use a Provost 2, what it is, how it's supposed to work, how much it costs, etc. First up, we're gonna talk about the price. You can expect to pay between $30 and $35 on average for a Provost 2. That being said, there are some sellers on Amazon that sell it for like $40, $50, $60, and they can get away with that because a lot of the time the Provost 2 is sold out. The reason it's sold out is because it's so wildly popular, so every time a wave of people find out about it, they run to whatever retail still has it and they buy it out. Now, I got my Provost 2 from MasonShishaware.com for $30. I also know that 5-Star Hookah has them for, I think, around $35. And Zara also sells them, and I think it's also between $30 and $35. I'll include all those links in the description so you can actually click into it and buy the Provost 2 directly from there. Now, as I mentioned, in front of me, I have 6 different kinds of bowls. I also have some foil, I have a toothpick, and I have the Provost 2. And then over here, I have Shisha that's ready to be smoked out of. So perfect. Now we're gonna talk about how to set up the Provost 2. And I'm actually gonna get a session going. All right, so this is what the Provost 2 looks like up close and personal. So as you can see, there's a swivel, you can cover the vents or open up the vents. Now, first important lesson here, never close the vents, always leave them like this. This is actually perfect. So I've heard people say that they've gotten Provost 2s where it's not easy to slide back and forth. Cool, leave it in this position, you never have to touch it. So there's 2 handles on the Provost 2. There's one at the top and there's one at the bottom. And this is really nice because you can kind of hold it both separately. So if you want to take the lid off, you can easily take the lid off. If you want to take the whole thing off of the top of your Shisha, you can just take the whole thing off the top of your Shisha. Now when you open it, you'll see that there are a bunch of holes at the bottom. And then they go through all the way to the bottom, as holes do. A lot of people will tell you that you need to make sure that your holes line up on your foil. You actually don't need that many holes, and I'll actually show you how I poke holes in mine. The main thing here is you want to make sure that you have enough holes for heat, and that's really it. Now, when it comes to coal, what you're gonna do is you're gonna line your coal up like this. So there's gonna be one here and one here, and I'll actually show you that when I do it. And the idea is when the lid's on, your coals are in there. When you want to move to a middle position or a medium heat position, what you're actually going to do is you're going to take the lid off, and then you see these notches at the side. Right there are notches. You're actually going to line up the notches right here, and then you're going to lean them against the lid. And then one part's going to be leaned against the lip of the handle, and the other part's actually going to be leaning on the coal. Now what we're looking at here is the Provost 2, and as I mentioned, it's a heat management device, but it's a heat management device that needs foil. So I have some foil cut up here, and I'll actually show you how I do this. And I actually have a bowl pack too that's ready to go. This is basically just, really thin steel. And the reason for that is because you want heat to transfer, you want it to be able to get hot. It's not thick like the Lotus or the Stratus. That's actually a pro, because the Lotus or the Stratus really take 3 cubes to heat up the bowl properly. Whereas with the Provost, you only need 2. So you're saving on coal, you're still getting the heat that you're looking for, and you get foil there too, so it regulates the heat even more. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to foil this bowl and Here I have a mix of some blonde and some dark. I actually have Haze Cucumberita mixed with Trifecta pineapple mixed with Trifecta's Twice the Ice X. Now I'm just gonna foil it. So here I have my foil, and this is actually Cocourth foil. I've been testing this out. I like it, it's nice. I'm actually just gonna use one sheet. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna slap it down on the bowl. And then from there, I'm going to pinch, pull down, make sure it's nice and tight. And then do the same thing on the other side. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then from there, I'm just gonna adjust it to make sure that my foil is as tight as humanly possible. All right, now I have really tight foil, no give whatsoever. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you the whole pattern for the Provost. So I have a toothpick. I'm gonna put my finger right about here on the toothpick, and then I'm gonna poke one hole in the middle. I have my hole in the middle. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 2 lines of holes. So there we have the first ring. Now I'm gonna do a second ring. And there's my 2 lines of holes. I have 2 rings. And then what I like to do is, this is stupid, but if you ever look at my Instagram and you see my stories with my foil and my bowl, there's a reason that the foil doesn't go over. I think it makes it look bad, and that's just me because I'm OCD. So I have scissors, and then I cut the extra foil. You do not have to do this. So put the scraps away. And then again, just make sure that the foil is as tight as possible. All right, there's my bowl. There are my holes, that's my hole pattern. And then here's what it looks like on the side. Now, as I mentioned, Provost 2 just sits on top of that. Now, I have another piece of foil here, and that's just because I wanted to show you guys how, say I have a bowl like the Onyx, I have my foil, I'm gonna get my foil nice and tight, but there we have the Onyx, and it sits on top. Moving on, put the Onyx aside. We have this kilo bowl, have it there. Again, fits right on top of it. So here we have the mini rook. I have my foil, and this foil just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Notice this was a lot easier to foil. There's my mini rook, and here's how the Provost sits on top of the mini rook, just like that. Notice that it doesn't matter how big the bowl is or small the bowl is, the Provost 2 just sits on top of it because it's sitting on foil. Now, if for whatever reason you have a mini rook that's even smaller, just make sure that the Provost is centered and you're good to go. Now I'm gonna throw some coals on this so you can actually see what it looks like and how it works. All right, so I have my bowl, I have my coals, and I have my Provost 2. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to grab the coals and I'm gonna line them up just like this. Now, the reason I'm gonna line them up like this is I want them to be in line with the handle. And the reason I want them to be in line with the handle is because when I put these on, what I can actually do, lock the lid on the notch, and this is my middle position. So once my Shisha actually heats up and I start getting good clouds, instead of taking the lid completely off, what I can do is actually lock it like this, and I can move it around and it actually doesn't go anywhere. It's locked. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take the bowl, I'm gonna put it on top of my Shisha, I'm gonna put this on top and put the lid on. Sorry, this is a lot closer than you usually see me. Here's my Provost 2, it's sitting on top of my bowl. And as I mentioned, if I wanna go to the middle position, I can actually do this. And it's actually locked in at the notch, meaning that I can pick it up, I can move it around, nothing really happens to it, as you can see. And I just have one side resting on a coal and the other side is locked in at the notch. Again, to show you those notches, they're right here at the bottom. Line it up, rest it on the coal, and you're good to go. It doesn't really move. Just gonna adjust the coal a little bit. That's what it's gonna look like when you have it in the middle position, or as some of my friends like to call it, position 2, because they consider this position 1. So yeah, position 1, position 2, and I think they call this one position 3, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really do this though. Like, I either do it's on, or it's in position 2, if that's what you want to call it, or it's just completely off because it's too hot. It doesn't really get too hot, at least it doesn't for me, but if it ever gets too hot, you can just take it completely off. I'm gonna move the camera back because you are way too close, and I'll show you how it smokes. I'm gonna let this heat up a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you a few things. I have some tips. What I like to do is I leave the lid on for the first 10 minutes. Vents always open, as I mentioned. Let the bowl heat up, take pulls like this, just to get it going. Keep doing that throughout like the first 10 minutes. It'll only take 2 or 3 minutes until it really starts going if you're doing that. Otherwise, it'll take, 6 or 7 minutes. After the first 10 minutes, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take it to that halfway on position, or as I said, my friends like to call it position 2, where you're leaning on the lid, you're leaning on the coal, you're gonna keep pulling. You're gonna leave it like that for 30 minutes. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the lid off, you're gonna take the coals off, you're gonna ash them wherever you ash them, whether it be the tray or if you have one of these things, ash them, flip them, put them back on, same line. If you'd like, you can move where the Provost is, actually move the Provost around. Again, if you want. I don't really do that. It doesn't really make a difference to me because I feel like the whole surface area gets heated up, so that's good enough for me. Leave it like that for another 30 minutes. And then what's gonna end up happening is your coals are gonna get smaller, which is fine. You're gonna ash them, put them back on, and then you're gonna put the lid on for the last 30 minutes. So really what it's doing here is it's gonna give you anywhere from an hour and a half to an hour 45 with these coals. What I like to do is when I see that the coals are about 40% the size that they were when I started, I light another set of coals, which with this just means 2 more coals. And then when I bring the other 2 coals on, I put the coals on and I put them in this position, same thing. And then kind of just repeat. And that's how I get my coals to go, 3 hours on 2 sets. That's the cheat code. That's what I do. I just told you everything. So do that. All right, let's see how it's going. There we go. So if you follow me on Instagram at Moa Smokes, anytime you see me doing the pictures with the big clouds, I'm usually using a Provost 2. My setup usually looks similar to this, and all I do is pull. And let clouds out. As you can see, I'm getting more than enough heat. I'm actually getting the perfect amount of heat for me right now. I'm getting big clouds. I just started and it's gonna stay like this. They're gonna stay dense, they're gonna stay big. Again, as long as you pack your bowl the way that you're supposed to be packing your bowl, as long as you are managing your heat the way that you're supposed to be managing your heat, as long as you have your water level at the right level, you're golden. I'm gonna take one more pull. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at Moa Smokes. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or feel free to DM me. I'm always happy to answer questions on my Instagram account and in my YouTube comments. Also make sure you're subscribed, and also that way you get an alert anytime I post a new video. I'm just gonna blow some more clouds. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.